of the arguments of early Protestant reformers is that in fact there was a priesthood of the believer, that priesthood authority to perform ordinances in the name of God, was derived solely from belief. So your Lutheran minister was not your minister because he had received a greater level of authority than you had. He was your minister because he'd gone to divinity school, he'd gone and learned more about the Bible than you, and so he was going to teach it to you. He was educated. That's why he was going to be your teacher, not because he had some kind of special authority given him by God. Clearly, he believed he was called by God, but in the Protestant world that Joseph Smith lived in, the idea that some kind of special authority was necessary for ordinances to be performed was a relatively foreign concept. Again, one of the overriding principles of Protestantism in the 19th century is the idea that salvation is based on faith alone. And if it's based upon faith alone, then there are essentially no essential ordinances, right? It's whether or not someone has faith.
The messenger who visited us on this occasion and conferred this priesthood upon us said that his name was John, the same that is called John the Baptist in the New Testament, and that he acted under the direction of Peter, James, and John, who held the keys of the priesthood of Melchizedek, which priesthood, he said, would in due time be conferred upon us. Joseph Smith.
The angel had promised, John the Baptist had promised that they would eventually get this higher authority. They will make this a matter of prayer multiple times. And at some point, we don't know when, these prayers are answered.
The details and chronology of events of this period of early church history are not precisely recorded. We do know, however, that two important miraculous events occurred. The voice of the Lord spoke to Joseph Smith and others in Fayette and gave them instructions about the future organization of the church. And Peter, James, and John appeared to Oliver and Joseph and conferred upon them the apostleship and keys of the kingdom necessary to organize the church. Joseph explained in his history.
We had for some time made this matter a subject of humble prayer, and at length we got together in the chamber of Mr. Whitmer's house in order, more particularly, to seek of the Lord what we now so earnestly desired. For we had not long been engaged in solemn and fervent prayer, when the word of the Lord came unto us in the chamber, commanding us that I should ordain Oliver Cowdery to be an elder in the Church of Jesus Christ, and that he also should ordain me to the same office, and then to ordain others as it should be made known unto us from time to time. We were, however, commanded to defer this our ordination until such times as it should be practicable to have our brethren, who had been and who should be baptized, assemble together, when we must have their sanction to our thus proceeding to ordain each other, and have them decide by vote whether they were willing to accept us as spiritual teachers. Joseph Smith.
In addition to this miracle, hearing the voice of the Lord, Joseph and Oliver also received higher authority from three of Christ's apostles.
Peter, James, and John, the same apostles who walked and talked with Jesus, the same members that were of his apostleship that were closest to him, they will come and appear to Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery, and they will confer upon them the apostleship.
In September of 1842, Joseph reflected back on these two events and other founding events of the church with exultation.
And again, what do we hear? Glad tidings from Cumorah. Moroni, an angel from heaven, declaring the fulfillment of the prophets, the book to be revealed. A voice of the Lord in the wilderness of Fayette, Seneca County, declaring the three witnesses to bear record of the book. The voice of Michael, on the banks of the Susquehanna, detecting the devil when he appeared as an angel of light. The voice of Peter, James, and John in the wilderness between Harmony, Susquehanna County, and Colesville, Broome County, on the Susquehanna River, declaring themselves as possessing the keys of the kingdom and of the dispensation of the fullness of times. Joseph Smith.
While it is not known when Peter, James, and John came, some scholars think that a May 1829 date is a distinct possibility.
In 1829, May of 1829, there is an actual event where Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery could have been between Colesville and Harmony, where Joseph Smith said it occurred, and right at the time when they were translating the Book of Mormon. They have no more paper to finish the translation, and so they take a trip from Harmony to Colesville. Now remember, it happened in between Harmony and Colesville. The visit occurred between those two locations. And so they take this trip up to Colesville to get paper and food from a friend of theirs in Colesville, Joseph Knight Sr. Joseph Knight Sr. is not there. He's out on business to another township. And so they walk all the way back down to Harmony. And in that visit, after they return, Joseph Knight Sr. finds out they had come, and he goes down to Harmony to give them food and paper. And so this trip has been one that has not been identified when it actually occurred, but it is the specific time and place in May 1829 when they could have seen Peter, James, and John. Unfortunately, we don't have an absolute sure answer of when they came, though.
The bestowal of the Melchizedek priesthood upon Joseph and Oliver did not conclude with Peter, James, and John.
And so what Peter, James, and John restored was what the prophet possesses, the keys of the kingdom. And as time went on, those keys were activated by other angelic visits, like Elias and Moses and Elijah. And so as they came, they gave them permission to perform those ordinances. Joseph was given the ability to distribute the priesthood to others throughout the church. And so as we broaden our perspective of the restoration of the priesthood, we can see that there is a bigger story to be told. There is more to be known. And truly there's more faith to be had in the priesthood as we dig deeper and deeper into its true meaning.